Hey all, Tony Bing here, hello and welcome back to another in-depth review for Marvel Strike Force. Now today we will be looking at the latest Spider-Verse character, as of course Miles Morales. Now in this video, to let you know if he's worth investing in, we've got various different sections we cover. We start off firstly with the general overview that includes his tags and how you unlock them. We then have a look at his stats and we break them down. Next up it's the abilities, and I'll talk about how high you want to level certain abilities. We then have the synergies, and in this section we look at characters he works well with, characters you want to avoid, and then finally enemies that he can actually be quite effective against as well. Now once we've covered all that, we then see where he places in the tier list. So the first section we start off with anyway, that will be the general overview. Miles then is a brawler class, but when you actually look at his kit, personally I feel that he is more of a controller. He doesn't have the highest damage and he has a ton of debuffs that he can offer. Now when we look at his tags, he has Hero, City, Bio, Brawler, Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse, it's relevant because we're getting more characters that fall under that. We'll still get Green Goblin and Carnage coming up soon, and of course we already have Venom and Spider-Man. The Hero Brawler tag is very important because that means that he can work exceptionally well under Miss Marvel and get a ton of assists when he's working alongside her. Now in regards to unlocking him, at the moment we have the legendary campaign that's ongoing, and pretty soon I'm sure that we're going to be getting a raid where we can get some more shards as well. So hopefully, even from a free to play perspective, we can get him round about 4-star on that. Now with the overview covered, let's have a look at his stats. When we look at the stats for Miles then, these really are a bit of a mixed bag, with him being very high in some areas and really low in other. There's not many where he just finds a middle ground. Now his offensive stats we look at first here, his damage is really pretty low, so he's sitting way down at an F for that, and he doesn't have the highest multipliers either. This is why when I mentioned a moment ago I feel he's more of a controller than a brawler due to the damage he puts out. His speed is 117, so that's a B rating, and it's actually just one higher than Spider-Man. He's at 116 there, and that rating puts him outside just the top 10 in regards to speed ratings in the game, so that is very helpful. And then you've got his focus, which is way up at A, and he doesn't need that because he will be applying a ton of debuffs to the enemies. He doesn't have anything else really offensively in his kit, so for that reason let's have a look at his defensive stats now. Defensive wise then, I would say that he actually struggles a little, but his health is way down at D, his armour's down at F, so that's almost non-existent. He does have nice resistance, so it will be hard to actually cleanse him if he's got buffs on him or apply debuffs to him. Also from a defensive perspective, he's got the fact that he can stealth up, and he gets that on spawn and also via special, and when stealthed up he gains a whopping 50% dodge chance. Now the reason I say that I don't believe he's great from a defensive perspective is that 50% dodge chance is of course pretty awesome, but when he doesn't have that, all he's got to actually protect them, well I say all he's got to protect them, he's not really got anything to protect them at all when he's not stealthed. So he's not dodging, he doesn't have armour to mitigate, and he doesn't have a large health pool either, so this is an area where he certainly does fall down a little bit there. Now with the stats covered anyway, let's have a look at his abilities. When we look at the abilities here then, I'll read out the tooltip of the actual ability maxed out, and then I'll let you know how high you want to take it as well, so you can save your precious resources for the skills that matter. Now the passive which we look at first is called Ultimate Spidey. With this, on spawn you gain stealth. That's really important for his survivability, and it makes it very hard, if not impossible, to lock him down on the first turn. Also with this, on turn you apply defense down to a random target. If that target already has defense down, you gain offense up instead, so that would be the likes of Spider-Man, I don't know, has defense down to various characters, and then Miles gets his turn next, there's a high chance he'll give the offense up to himself. Also with this, the attack is unavoidable, cannot be blocked, and during stealth you gain that 50% dodge chance there. Now with this ability I personally would take it up to level 4 because the only difference between level 4 and level 5 is that when you target an enemy and add the defense down to them, if they already have it, you will instead gain a fence up to yourself. Now if you're running with Spidey and a lot of characters have defense down already, it may just be worthwhile, but because of his low base damage, the 50% isn't doing that much. It's just pulling him up slightly more, but it's not taking him to any exceptional levels. So personally I would say keep this one at level 4. For the basic we have a skill called Quick Strikes. With this one you attack a single target for 280% damage. If the target has defense down, then you clear 3 positive effects from them, so that can certainly be really useful there. Now in regards to how high you want to take this, the only difference between 6 and 7 is 40% damage. You will still retain the ability to clear 3 positive effects if the target has defense down, so for this ability take this to level 6. The next ability we look at here is the special. Now this takes 4 turns to charge and comes fully charged, but unless there is a particularly dangerous target you need to try and slow down a bit, you would want to use the ultimate first. Now this ability anyway, it's called Venom Shock. So with this you attack primary target for a fairly decent 300% damage and you change the enemy speed bar by 50%. So the way the speed bar works, it goes up to 1000, so essentially you're pulling it down by 500 there. Also with this you apply slow for 2 turns and prolong all negative effects by 1. You gain stealth, so that's great for your survivability, and the attack cannot be blocked. In regards to how high you want to take it, if you're really investing in Miles, then I would take this one to level 7 because at that stage you're doing additional damage, but your slow changes from 1 turn to 2 turns, so 2 turns of slow and reducing the speed bar by 50% really can lock down certain enemies. Now the next ability we look at is the final one. This will be the ultimate. This final ability then is called Web Blast. Now it's 6 turns to charge and comes fully charged, and 9 times out of 10 you will be using this on the first turn. Now with this you attack all enemies for 260% damage. The important part of this, and for me this really defines Miles and his kit, is you apply Disrupted to the primary target for 2 turns. So that's exceptionally powerful against tanks because he's got his fast speed and he can go before them and he can essentially just stop them from taunting up for 2 turns there, so he can effectively negate a lot of tanks in the game. Also with this, when it's upgraded, you apply Disrupted to 2 additional targets as well. Now when it comes to upgrading this skill, this is one I would take up to level 6. The difference between 6 and 7 is that when you apply Disrupted to the additional targets, at level 6 it's only applying it to 1 target, at level 7 it's applying it to 2. Now the reason I would only take it up to 6 is that it's applying it to a random target, so very well may add it to a target where Disrupted isn't actually useful because they're not applying any kind of buffs on themselves, and that's a lot of materials in order to actually upgrade that. So this one I would take to level 6 there. Now that's all the abilities covered, so let's have a look at his synergies. When we look at characters that Miles can work well with, I would say he could fit into the vast majority of teams, and that's because his strength comes from the disrupt on his ultimate, and that isn't reliant on synergies at all. If we do look at characters though that do have synergies with them, there are quite a few here. You firstly get Spider-Man. With Spider-Man, when he dodges and his passive is maxed out, he can actually fill up Miles' speed bar by 10% as well, so that's really useful. We've then got Green Goblin, and he can actually dispel additional buffs with the more characters he has from the Spider-Verse universe in his team. Venom's up next. He gains a buff with Spider-Verse characters to his focus. If you were to pair him up with Loki Enhanced Sentry, that gives him stealth, so in a way that gives him the 50% dodge chance, helping his survivability. You also have Miss Marvel. That's a very strong synergy for a Blitz team because he is a hero brawler, so he's guaranteed the assists once you max her passive out. And then finally, he's maybe not the best, but he could work as a 5th defender as well there. I would say go for Punisher or Miss Marvel. If you don't have them, he has a potential option as well to fill out your defenders team. Now next up what we'll do is we'll look at the characters you want to avoid. When we look at characters you want to avoid here, a lot of traditional characters that can be dangerous for squishier heroes, such as Korath or Star-Lord, who can burn them down in the first turn, aren't effective because Miles on his first turn is actually stealthed up, so that does help him out. Now for that reason I would say his real weaknesses are characters that can actually take advantage of enemies that have stealth. So you've got Hawkeye there, on his passive he can clear the stealth. You've also got Mystique, which uses her special, which she can clear stealth. Same with Wasp, she doesn't clear the stealth but she can do damage to stealth targets via her ultimate. And then you've got Green Goblin, who has anti-stealth measures as part of his special as well there. So there's not a great deal of characters, so that's not great for the enemies, but it is good for Miles. Now to finish up the synergies, we'll have a look at characters that Miles is actually strong against. So I've mentioned this a few times now, but for me Miles' strength really comes in the ultimate and the 2 turns of disrupt that he's adding. So characters that this can really just lock down and almost get them out of the match altogether would include Juggernaut, Hulk, Luke Cage, Captain America, Miss Marvel, because he can stop her from taunting up when characters drop below 50% health. Same applies to Shield Security. Shield Operative, you can actually stop a particular character from getting the stealth and also the various stacks of regen. And then finally you've got Thanos as well there, so you can block him before he taunts up and gets that huge resistance. So he really is absolutely fantastic against enemy tanks. Now with that covered, let's have a look and see where he places in the tier list. Before we actually place Miles in the tier list, then what I'll do to provide some rationale is run over his pros and cons in my eyes. So firstly, his biggest pro is that awesome ultimate, which is amazing at neutralising tanks. You've got his high speed, it's up at 117, so that's just outside the top 10 there. He can be really hard to counter and shut down at the start of a fight due to spawning with his stealth. His passive is really nice as well, adding the defence down, and he also works in quite a lot of teams. Recent characters we've looked at, you really have to put them in certain teams and you can't branch them out, but with Miles you can add a lot to various different characters in the game, and it's great to see that. Now if we look at his downsides, for a brawler he's certainly got really low damage, and that's why I feel he's more of a controller class. So if you are putting him in a team, make sure to go a bit heavier on damage with the other characters you take in alongside him. When he's not stealthed up, he's really got nothing to protect him. He doesn't have the dodge chance, he doesn't have armour, and he doesn't have the high health pool at all. So after that first turn, if he's not got a character that's taunting in your team, then he could be in trouble and taken out pretty quick. On the plus side, his first turn is probably the most important one, applying that disrupt. Now with all that in mind, I would actually rate him as a medium alpha character. This is one I struggled a little bit with. Initially I had him in high, but looking at his downsides, I would say he would be a medium alpha character. When you add in synergies, the strongest synergy I say would be with Spider-Man, where when Spider-Man dodges he gets the extra 10% chance to his speed bar. That would move him up one slot, that would move him to high alpha, so that's where I would place Miles Morales. Now as always, let me know in the comments below if you're farming him, how you're getting on, if you've unlocked them, how you're enjoying them, and if you agree with the rating or if you disagree, provide your rationale as well. And as always, thanks for tuning in. And actually, just before I finish my sign off, I have a shout out to make. We have the data miner Chronolink, who for quite some time has been getting his information, and I've used it in various news videos. He is sadly no longer going to be data mining for the game, so I want to give a shout out to Chronolink to say thanks for all the time and effort you've actually put into helping players in the game. All the best whatever you do in the future, and really that's us. All the best, mate, and to everyone else, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all again soon.